Yes, I am here to interpret between English and Spanish today. Ahora haré el mismo anuncio en español, un poquito de paciencia, por favor. Welcome everybody. If you are bilingual in English and Spanish, then everything is great. Our program will be mainly in English, I believe, but there may be switching to Spanish at some point as well. So if you're not comfortable in both languages, you can turn on your interpretation, which is if you're connected from a computer, you'll see there's a globe icon along the bottom of your page. If you're connecting from a phone, you'll see that there are the 3 dots on the lower corner of your screen. When you tap on those, and it says more, you'll see there's a language interpretation option. In either one, you can select English or Spanish. And you can also choose to leave the main audio at 20%. So you'll hear the folks speaking in the background and my voice louder on top when you need that interpretation. Or you can mute the main audio, which means you will just hear the interpreter's voice. Buenas tardes. If you saw the instructions on screen on how to do that, that should give you some support. I'm also going to paste some text instructions into the chat. Y estas instrucciones que acabo de poner en el chat están en inglés y en español. Buenas tardes, gracias por asistir esta tarde. Si usted es bilingüe, no necesitan interpretación. El programa de hoy será en combinación de inglés y español. Si prefieren escuchar en un idioma o en otro, pueden activar la interpretación mirando en su computadora. Si están conectadas por computadora, en la base de la pantalla tienen un globito que pone interpretación, el icono de globito. Y entonces tocando ahí pueden elegir inglés o español. Y cuando se esté hablando su idioma preferido, entonces no me escucharán porque yo estaré en el otro canal. De otro modo, una vez lo tengan conectado, lo escucharán cuando les haga falta solamente. Y si están conectados por teléfono, verán que en la esquina de abajo de su pantalla tienen 3 puntitos que dicen más o more. Y ahí, cuando lo toquen, saldrá también la opción de interpretación de idiomas, language interpretation. Elijan inglés o español, según su preferencia. Y la otra opción que tienen también es cuando pone main audio, mute main audio o silenciar audio principal. Eso es para que lo pueden dejar conectada para oír el volumen de la persona que esté hablando a un 20% más o menos y luego la voz de la interpretación un poquito más alta para que se escuche bien. O lo pueden poner en silencio para solamente escuchar la voz del intérprete. Si tienen problemas con esto, pueden poner algo en el chat y de otro modo, pues ya seguimos adelante y vamos a empezar la interpretación. Muchas gracias. If you have trouble with this, please put a note in the chat and we'll try to work it out with you. And otherwise, we'll begin interpretation now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Luis. This is our first time doing this, so it is our hope that it will work. It'll work for everyone. And we thank you. We thank you, Luis, for being with us this evening. Buenas tardes and good evening. I am Melody Capote, Executive Director of the Caribbean Cultural Center, African Diaspora Institute, known to many of you as CADI or CCC ADI. I want to begin by wishing everyone here with us tonight a very happy new year and ask that 2021 be kinder by providing us with the solutions to rid us of the coronavirus and that we each be blessed with good continued health. For those of you new to CCC ADI, we are an arts, culture, education, and media organization that advances cultural equity, racial and social justice for African descendant communities. As we prepare for this evening's program, I want to acknowledge that today is Martin Luther King's holiday, and we recognize him as one of the champions for civil and human rights in this country. I'd like to take a moment to raise his name, Ibaye Ibaye Tonu, Dr. Martin Luther King. At a time when we are facing some of the greatest challenges for racial and social justice, it is important to remember that it is our responsibility to recognize that as human beings, we are all valuable and we are each responsible for standing for what is right. And the moment is now. Tonight's program is about the Orisha community, for the Orisha community, and by the Orisha community. The work of the center and its founder, Marta Moreno Vega, who is also my madrina, is recognized for the respect and accuracy in which we present information about our sacred tradition, known as La Regla de Ocha. This presentation brings together traditional leaders of this practice to discuss and explore the letter of the year, La Letra del Año. In our tradition, La Letra serves as a sacred forecast for the coming year and provides us with guidance for living a balanced life in the best of times and in the worst of times. However, before we begin, I need you to know something. What the center does in presenting programs like the one tonight is not easy, and we need your support. So here's the challenge. There are over 300 of you watching tonight. And so I'm asking every one of you to take a moment to make a contribution to the center today, right now. Visit us at cccadi.org and go to donate. Your contribution of $5, $10, $15, $100, whatever you can give, is going to help us to continue to provide and produce events that are of interest to you. I ask that you do this for the sake of our culture, for the sake of our children, for the sake of our grandchildren. We want you to invoke your power. And so tonight, I lost my names, okay. So tonight, we are thrilled to be able to bring to you some of the leading traditional leaders of the Orisha tradition. We will be presenting this evening a panel with Raymond Crawford, Alberto Oceguera, Ramin Khorassani, Frank Bell, Danny Rodriguez, and our moderator this evening, Marinieves Alba. As I introduce Mari as our hostess and moderator for the evening, it's important for you to know that she is also a priestess of Olo-Obatala. She has served as a consultant for programs for the center for over 20 years, and I want to extend my deepest gratitude to her for curating tonight's panel. I leave you all in the good company of our panelists and look forward to seeing you again soon. Ashe, enjoy this evening's program.
Thank you, Melody. And before we begin the introductions by our panelists, I want to do one more item of housekeeping, which is that we will be requesting your questions. We will open the floor for questions beginning at around 8 p.m. And so you'll see in the bottom of your bar, there are two options for questions. There is a Q&A button, and then there is a chat button. The chat button really is a space for you to offer commentary, for you to celebrate the panelists, send love, if you will. And after 8 p.m., you can use the Q&A button really to ask direct questions, since we will try to answer as many questions as possible before we close the evening. So again, chat for communication, love, and affirmation, and Q&A for questions. And we see that some people in the chat are having difficulty with interpretation still. I just want to suggest, if you can, again, go to the bottom of your screen to the far right. The last button should be the interpretation button. And if that isn't working for you, you may want to log in and out of Zoom or watch us live. We do have a live happening. We have live streaming happening for you all on the social media platforms. So thank you all again. Welcome again on behalf of the Caribbean Cultural Center African Diaspora Institute. I'm very honored to be moderating this evening's panel of elders. In the tradition, in the Yoruba traditions across the world, across the African diaspora, we have a very precious and sacred tenet, which is that wisdom is distributed widely across the earth, right? And wisdom is shared. It is, as they say, la sabiduría es repartida, or wisdom is sort of disseminated and shared. It is broken up and shared. And so part of bringing together this panel of elders is bringing together the collective wisdom that our community is so blessed to have. And it's also an opportunity to really listen to a community of both Oluwos, right, or babalawos, and also Oba Oriates, which are the high priests, in different functions and different roles in our community, but these are the high priests of our community. And we thought we would bring them together across a range of initiatory years. In many of our ceremonies, we honor the importance and the wisdom of bringing together elders and youngers and peoples across all of the landscape of experience. recognizing that everyone, regardless of age, can bring wisdom, and everyone, regardless of age, can bring their ache. So with that, I'm going to invite the panelists to introduce themselves to this intergenerational discussion. We're going to begin with Oba Raymond Crawford. You're muted, Oba Ray.
Okay, thank you. I'm very glad to be here, and I'm very happy that you've invited me once again, and I look forward to speaking to everyone and just imparting a little bit of information about our tradition and how it's practiced. So thank you again.
Oba Ray, do you mind sharing with our community your years of initiation?
Well, I made Olo-Obatala 31 years ago, and in that same year I passed on to Ifa, so it's a total of 31 basically for both, and soon sometime in July it'll be 32 years for Ifa. So.
Thank you so much. We're going to invite next Oluwo Alberto Oceguera.
No te oímos, Alberto.
Alberto, you're muted.
How about now? Can you hear me? Okay, sorry about that. My name is Alberto Oceguera. We'll be talking today about the culture. We'll be talking about the letter of the year, and what can we contribute to the society to live a better life, a peaceful life, and life of understanding. I was initiated in October 1966, Obatala, and I made Ifa in 1986, May 21st. So that's how many years I have altogether. Obatala is 50 something. I've stopped counting already, and Ifa is 34. I'll be 35 this year.
Thank you, Oba Alberto. And now I'm going to welcome our youngest priest, Ramin Khorassani.
Good evening, everyone. Well, my name is Ramin Khorassani. I was raised in the religion from a young age. I'm from the Bronx, New York. I currently reside in Miami, Florida. I was consecrated into a shroom almost, I would say, I believe 13 years ago. And I made Ifa in Abeokuta, Nigeria, about 10 years ago now.
Thank you, Ramin. And we'll now begin the introductions of our Oba Oriates, our babalawos. Frank Bell, welcome.
Okay, thank you. Caribbean cultural setting, especially to Marta Vega and Melody, that I know for a long time, and all the panelists that have participated this year in the letter of the year. My name is Frank Bell, Omilari. I have 28 years to crown Yemaya, and 35 years of Palero, because I am Arenganga also. I was initiated with my family in Havana, Cuba, in the neighbor Carrawao. I am working like Oriate for 25 years. So I feel so glad and blessed to be here with you and share time with all the panelists to provide the community with the best information that we have.
Thank you, Frank. And now what we call a yelder, right? This is a person that is an elder, but still young in human years. And so we're very happy to have Danny Rodriguez. Welcome, Danny.
Well, thank you for having me. Good evening, everybody. I grew up in this religion, in this tradition. I was initiated at 5. I made Shango in 1986. So this year I'll be celebrating 35 years of initiation of Shango. And I started working as an Oba Oriate in my early 20s. It's been about 20 years since I've been working as Oba Oriate. And I'm very glad we're doing this, and we're bringing the community together and having this discussion on how to best understand the tradition and what we can take away from all of this. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Danny. And so we're going to get right into it. We have a very diverse audience. Over 300 of you are joining us from all over the world, and we're so blessed to have you and be in community with one another, especially during this time. And so the first question I want to pose to the panelists is, tell our audience members, obviously those that are initiates, are aware of the significance and importance of this annual tradition, but can you please tell our audience, what is the significance of this tradition? Why do we pull an Odu for the year, or la letra del año? Any of you is welcome to respond.
If I may, the letter of the year has always been a guideline to us Orisha practitioners and also aleos and non-initiates also. The letter of the year is always marked an Orisha that accompanies the year, that would be best to appease and that would be best to pray for certain blessings or to avoid negative traits within that year. Normally accompanying this sign usually is a color or flag that will be placed above your door to, again, bring those blessings into your home and avoid the negativity from coming inside of your home. As being a kid around the religion, growing up within the religion, it was always an indicator for all of us. Even if we each took our individual signs out and had our direct mentors or direct godfather, godmother that would guide us on our paths, we always looked at that as a larger indicator for all of our collective odis, for all of our collective minds, to kind of more of like all of humanity, so to speak, right? What are the different things that we should do, the different things that we have to be careful for, right? The different reflections that we should have as human beings, because again, all of this is about growth and then seeing how we connect from one year to the next.
Thank you, Ramin. Are there any others that would like to respond?
Well, I would like to just note that somewhere around January 1st, when we first begin to think about the new year, we need guidance as to what exactly we should do, what new things we do, because this is an accumulation of experience that many times is shared with many people. We have a large community, and it's all according to what we think is our community. It could be the world, it could be the United States, it's Cuba, and not to forget that there's Brazil, Haiti, and many other countries that have a certain interest in what's going to happen for the new year and how can we make it work well for us. So that's one of the responsibilities of the babalawos and the Oba Oriates, who begin to look to their family to bring them together and give them a good advice. So that's the first thing we do, and it's a good thing, good way to start the new year.
Thank you, Baba Ray. And you raise a very good point, which is that traditionally, while this letra has always been taken out in Cuba, which is the cradle of the Lucumí tradition, there are Yoruba traditions across the diaspora, in Brazil, certainly in Trinidad, in Nigeria, which of course is the La Matriz, right? The nucleus, the heart, the birthplace of our tradition, and Benin, of course. And so, since the inception of sort of the tradition in Cuba, we've now seen, because of the spread of Lucumí religion, we've now seen Letra del Año taken out in Bolivia, Mexico, Venezuela, all across the world, and also all across the United States, right? Providing a sort of regional guidance that can help to shape people's plans and thinking, and as Ramin said, reflections for the year. So with that said, with this as context, right, what are some of the things that this year in particular, and we're going to begin, we know that all of you have great wisdom about what's been happening regionally and the temples that you are attached to, but we're going to begin with Cuba, and La Letra del Año from Cuba, the Odu of the year from Cuba. Who would like to respond? What are some of the trends? What are the themes? What is the advice? What is the counsel that we're being given globally, since that is the lens with which the Cuba letter is taken out?
Well, one of the main pieces of the Odu in Cuba and Ikafun in Ifa are the 16 commandments. So Orulumila is telling us that we have to have structure, that we have to obey laws, that we have to follow rules, that we have to begin to think about our actions and all those 16 commandments and how are they going to shape the world, and what do we have to do to make sure that everything works out well within our society. We're living right now in a world with a lot of discord. There's a lot of discord. There's a pandemic. There are tensions, political tensions throughout the United States and throughout the world. So Ikafun is coming saying, here are 16 commandments. Here are 16 ways to live. You should be following those. And a lot of them speak of doing the right thing in general, right? Being nice to your neighbor, not causing discord when you don't have to cause discord, etc. So I think the big call here is really to reflection on what's going on in our society and what can we do to fix it, and are we following the rules, the rules, so to speak.
Thank you. One of the other elders like to respond.
Well, Ikafun is also talking about the agreement between Ifa and Babaluaye. There's a long story there that talks about when these two entities agreed on respecting each other mutually. One of the problems that I see is that the Ikafun is talking about is that a lot of times when we disrespect other people, the way they do things, the way they practice is incorrect. Because in this Odu, if you look at Ikafun, Babaluaye did not allow his children to do certain practices outside of their own tradition. That's in the Odun of Ifa of Ikafun. It even goes as far as saying that the children of Babaluaye, that are children of Babaluaye, like Chango has his children, Olo-Obatala, they can't make Ifa. They can't make Ocha. They can only receive that entity. That's one of the advices that Ikafun is saying, because Babaluaye will not give his heads away to anyone who's their original child. Now, translating that into the day-to-day is really respecting everybody else's space, I believe, okay? And not trying to implement or force yourself to have others believe or do what you believe in. That's one of the things that I see in Ikafun, which is the separation and the understanding that Ifa and Babaluaye, and look at what this pandemic is all the personification of Babaluaye. The whole planet is going through it. It's not just in the United States. So I think, thank God it came out with Ire. And the other thing that I see, the following Oduns in Ikafun is the following Odun is Odi Leke, Odi Irete, in Atekbe, Irete and Tekbe. These Oduns are talking about even women having problems, giving birth, having problems with, because Odi Ileke is, as we all know, it's an ileki, un collar. But Odi Ileke, the oriki of that particular story is that there's an ileki that women that having problems in their reproductive areas should use as far as their navel goes. So, and it has to be 6 beads red, 6 beads white throughout the whole thing. And then that ileki does not eat with Chango. It has nothing to do with Chango. That's just the color of the ileki. And the women have to wash it. It doesn't eat any blood or any other sort. Okay? It's just washed in a sign, and the women have to use it. And that is to help them with their reproductive or problems with their uterus, if they have problems with fibroids, etc. It's not going to take it away. I'm not saying that, but it will give you some kind of healing, and you need to speak to the people that are representing you if this is something that they want to move forward with. And Tekbe talks about also problems in your stomach, okay, in your midsection here. And then you have, and then you're opening with Ikafun that talks about babalawos. So all of these things, when you put them together, okay, they kind of, they have a lot of similarity, all in the same area of the human body. And there's a lot of things that are going to be coming up now. People getting vaccinated, etc., and all that. You know, people really have to pay attention to their physician. Okay, really follow and take care of their health this year, because there could be some serious issues. Because in Cuba it says ire ariku. Ire ariku means health, okay, or ire aiku, one or the other. But it's saying this is what I am going to bring. This is the ire that I am going to bring. It does not mean that, okay, it's ire, everything's going to be okay. We need to always do work, because look what happened, what has happened last year, and is pouring into this new year. And we got this Odun that is saying you have to continue the work. That's all for now.
Thank you. Others?
Well, if I may, Ikafun from Cuba, yes, it does speak of the 16 commandments. Many of us here, especially in the United States, know about the 10 commandments from Christianity. But Ikafun really talks about more of a professional, moral issues between, we'll use the word clients and the babalawos. We shouldn't lie. We shouldn't say things, talk about things we don't know. There's a relationship between the person and the diviner who many times we're in the hands, the person is in the hands of the babalawo. What should I do? What are the things that will help me? So these are moral issues, which many times turns into a certain disrespect between the two if you don't satisfy the needs of the person. So there's an expression called caminante that comes up. A caminante is a person who goes from one person to another and keeps going from one person to another till he gets the kind of answer that he wants. Many times the first answer he got wasn't satisfactory for him. So he moves from one place to another. So that's one of the things that happens many times between people, that they move from one place to another. They're not settled. And many of the very important relationships come between the babalawo, I'm speaking as a babalawo, and the person, is a certain closeness that comes that says, I care for you, I want to help you, There's also an Odi Leke, which is just an accompanying Odu. Odi Leke tells you, don't say everything that you feel. Many times people tend to speak their mind. And we know that sometimes speaking the mind will cause problems, it will hurt people. And so we have to be very careful about the things we say. There's a very famous story in Odi Leke about Orunmila telling a woman a little bit more than she needed to know. And it turned into a problem for Orunmila because maybe he shouldn't have said that. So that's an important thing. And I don't want to stir up any kind of situation, but Cuba at this time is experiencing exactly what Ikafun is talking about, in that we have certain norms that they're not laws. You see, we're guided by norms and social mores, which are not as strong as laws. So social mores allow us to at sometimes break those rules, but at many times we don't. It's a personal thing. I don't want to deceive the person I'm speaking to. That's not a law, but that's the right thing to do. So Ikafun is always going to tell us that what's the right thing to do? What's the kind thing to do? And when we experience that, we come closer to the diviner becomes closer to you. I just as in later on, I'll speak about what the letter came out for my temple, which has been going on for many years, straight for, I think it's now 45 years that we've been every year come out with the letter of the year. So we're very proud of that. And later on, I look forward to telling you a little about that also.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And are there other reflections? What, let's get into the meat of this letra before we start to move on into the regional letra. Frank, por favor.
Yes. Okay, I want to speak about Ikafun. One of the paths of Ikafun speak about the illness, about people that they are so greedy that they plan the illness, in the ground. This Odun speak about Osain, how Osain, he wants to be a king of the town, and he planned different, he made witchcraft with different stones. He planned that stone around the town and the people get sick. So when the people get sick, they have to go to Osain in order to get cured. That is the way that he wants to become in the king. So it's important in this letter to know that the illness is planted already around the world. This letter is telling us that we are dragging the illness from the last year to this year.
Okay.
Already, it's not the vaccine and maybe in Timor, no, it's planned already the illness. That is one of the great messages of Ikafun. Also, is Olokun. Olokun is the unknown force, unknown energy. Olokun, you never know, is Olokun is Ire, or Olokun is Osobo, is a female or is a male. We never know about Olokun. Next to Olokun is Ochun. Ochun is the blood. Ochun is the blood. So when you combine this letter, and I so happy that Raymond speak about the letter of his temple. When you combine all the letters that we have this year, the main letter that I know, Obeyono in Jersey, Iretekutan in Miami, all of them speak about health. We need to be so focused this year, so focused in our health, to go to the doctor, to do our regular checkout, because the main advisor of this letter in general is health. Babalawos speak in Iretekutan, in Obeyono, also in Ikafun, illness. We are talking that this year it will be hard as last year. Even though the vaccine start now, we need to be careful. We need to keep and follow the rule and regulation of the health department of any city that you are living around the world, because this is the main message. And the best thing in our life that we have to analyze is our health. If we don't have health, we don't have anything. And Ikafun is the letter that is Egun, is ancestor. It's the letter that is the lamb to the hole, to feed the hole with the lamb. It's all the ceremonious Egun also. If you see Obeyono, it also illness. You need to take care of your stomach. You need to take care of what are you speaking out. Iretekutan, the same thing. We need to feed the ground and take care of our health. So the main advice that all the letters, the main letters that I know, Ikafun, Iretekutan, Obeyono, or Obeyono, Iretekutan, Ikafun, it doesn't matter the order, because Orula is just one. So Orula distribute the letter around the world, depending on the ceremonies that we do. But the main message is our health. We need to take care of our health during this year. This is my reflection about all the letters in general that came out now in January.
Thank you, Frank. So let's go to the regional letters and start to draw the threads, right? Connect the dots, if you will, between the sort of global forecast and our regional forecast. And so I see Ramin's hand first, so I'll invite you, Ramin, to talk about Miami.
Okay. In Miami, it was divined Irete Gutan. Just to go back to what Baba Frank had said in reference to our ancestors, I feel that there's a really important message that Ikafun relays. It's not the easiest message to relay, especially being the youngest one in the panel, but with respect to all of my elders and with respect to my ancestors, I want to relay because it's an important message. Ikafun says that humanity will look to Orumila and ask why. We humanity are going to ask, why have there been so many deaths? Why has there been so many losses? Why has there been a loss of peace, a loss of compassion between brothers? And Orumila's response to humanity was, your own actions, your own faults are what caused this death, this sickness to be within your lives, be within your families. The reason being is because one of the commandments of your father says, you should never take the walking stick of an elder away. Regardless if you are younger, regardless if you can run fast, you should never make an elder feel badly because he cannot walk at the same pace that you can. Honestly speaking, and I don't mean to speak really fast, I feel very passionately about it, but it's a very important message to understand that we walk firm on this earth because we walk on the shoulders of our ancestors. If it wasn't for my godmother or godmother before her, and all the ancestors that came before, I wouldn't be here speaking to you today. What I feel has been lost more than anything is the love for this religion. Ikafun says that ceremonies will not be done complete. And I can tell you why. Ikafun says that because of monetary gain, people will only want to give you the benefit of a blessing, of a consecration, because of what they can gain from you. I'm going to use a couple of examples. Ikafun says, do not break taboo, correct? Now it's normal for people to break taboo just to create an uproar, just to create division, just to kind of signify that they're different. We have to respect laws that have been established. We have to respect taboos. We have to respect each other. Another example, I know that I'm speaking not only to initiates, but to non-initiates also. Nowadays, it's normal practice for an initiate to be consecrated into Orisa, not know anything whatsoever about Orisa, be consecrated into Ifa, a week later, then be consecrated into Guanardo to receive a knife of Ifa, then to become an elder in Ifa within a span of 2 months, without necessarily even knowing what Ifa is, what Orisa is. You know, these messages are extremely important. This is not something that is just take. This is give. This is also a two-way street. This is also love, adoration for our culture, for humanity. I think this is the main thing that's been lost. Because Ifa, honestly speaking, even though he's giving Iraiku for this year, is signifying to everyone, these are the commandments that we should be living by. Can you honestly look at yourself in the mirror and say that we've been living by them as a whole collective community? And I feel that it's important to know that we need to live by a higher standard than what we've been living in the past. But Irete Gutan says the same. Irete Gutan here in Miami says that what comes from the earth will go back to the earth. It speaks of Onile, speaks of Ileogere, speaks of Mother Earth. Speaks of Mother Earth and the need that we have as humanity to appease Mother Earth. The reason why there's been catastrophes, the reason why we have our own Earth attacking us, the reason why we have pandemics, the reason why we have floods, the reason why we have hurricanes that have been larger and more devastating than ever in the past, is because we are attacking our world.
Thank you. Yes, Danny.
Unmute, Danny, unmute, Danny. Unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Okay.
All right. Gotta forget to hit that unmute button, right? to follow up what the Owl said, what Ramin said, which is, he brings up a very good point in everything he said, but especially I want to follow up with what I see as an Oriate, somebody who someone who works in the community a lot, both here in New Jersey and all over the United States, a common thread, okay? And the common thread is back to respect, okay? And about what Ikafun says about charlatans in the religion, people doing bogus ceremonies, people doing things for money, people doing things that are not authorized to do those things, okay? We have a lot of that. And unfortunately, those who are listening, please listen up, especially those of you who are not initiated. You have to be careful of social media. You have to be careful of who you listen to. You have to be careful of who you subscribe to. You have to be careful of who you decide to follow blindly. You need to find somebody who is reputable. You need to find somebody who's in the community, right? Things like that. You want to do your research, okay? Because unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who are doing things incorrectly. And that leads to that whole part of Ikafun that speaks of doing ceremonies incorrectly, religious charlatans and whatnot, and the disorder that we're having. I can't tell you the amount of people that come to me who have a story. And I'm sure the Awos and the other Oba here can say the same thing, that they've heard these stories that are unbelievable. People really need, if you're interested, if you want to learn this religion, you need to do this the right way. And it's not through Facebook. It's not through, find someone who is going to teach you. Again, Oluwo Raymond said it, the caminantes, the people who jump back and forth. Respect your elders, respect where you come from, respect where you're at, so that you can know where you're going. That's very, very, very important. So we can avoid unnecessary things like that, right? Religious fraud and religious tragedy. Okay.
Thank you. There are some other themes that come up in the letra around criminality and alcohol use, for example,
Yep.
Vices and other types of social disruptions. Does anybody want to sort of speak to that and then bring us into, I know Baba Ray, you wanted to talk about the templos letra for the year in Ogbeyono.
Let me say something. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Linking the comment of Danny. In the Ikafun, this Odun also, like he's telling, you know, about talking about the people that are running, people that they are not doing ceremony correctly, and Ikafun speak about it also. Because here we see in Ikafun the hair. When I speak about the women and the hair that you are supposed to take care in the place that you cut your hair, how you attend your hair, people in general, because here in this Odun, Yemayan Ochun have problem. And they were sister. And this Odun in Kafun, they have problem because Yemayan chief felt jealousy, you know, about the hair of Ochun. And she cut her hair when she was sleeping. So when Ochun wake up, she feels sad and she feel, betrayed by her sister. She had to go to Orula. And Orula did both to Ochun in order that she recuperate her hair. So what that means, it means, and the message of this Patakin, that also meet the envy and jealousy in the community in general. And like Ramin was talking before, also, you know, Alberto, everyone do his stuff in his house. And there are general rules. General rule. We need to do something with the spirit faith, with Egun, until we continue the ceremony. There are so many different things that it, according to the knowledge and the background that you have in the religion. Yes, Danny is so right. There are a lot of people in the media that are doing and talking about different things that they even know. They just read a book that they buy it in any place, and they deliver that information in the wrong way to the community. But it is something that I want to let the community know that it doesn't start now. It started years ago. From the first book came out in the libraries in the 60s, that the elder will not agree with that, but the distribution start in Havana Fair and the rest of the island are people that even though don't have Crown Ocha buy that book to read, to know about Yemaya. with the Conjunto Folclórico Nacional de Cuba in 1960. This is first presentation, it was a problem. When Don Fernando Ortiz, with Jesus Pérez, Mercedita Valdés, and the other player present the Yoruba tradition in the University of Havana in 1988, it was a problem. Oh, the tambore bata not supposed to be there because the tambore bata is sacred. In my opinion, we are now in the new time. We are now that we need the media. We need the information. We need to share the information with our community. That we need also to provide the community with the right information, because from the 1980, the information is out there. People that the best IFA book, and you have here, we have here Raymond, that I know that he is one of the greatest babalawos about investigation and book. They are in the libraries on England. The England wrote down a lot of books that is in the university, and the England, they don't have any idea about Yemayá or Chum, but they wrote down this book, and the information is there. So, in my opinion, like high priest, that we need to know and we have to do is give the best information that we can for our followers. That in any ceremony that we teach the people and we support the people, because it's something that happened to you. Like high priest, sometimes the people ask us and we don't want to answer. So if you don't answer the person, if you don't educate the community, not criticize the people when they go for information. It happened in my country, it happened in Cuba. A lot of people criticize a lot of things when the National School of Art opened the class, international class. So many people didn't agree with that. No, because you are teaching people from another country that they are supposed to know about our tradition. And now, everyone going to Cuba to learn. A lot of people going to Cuba to receive Oricha. So I was living in this religion for my entire life. And everything have transformation. And our religion is now around the world. So the best thing that we can do is share information in the right way that we can, because Danny gives the best information that he can, the people that is around him, but he doesn't have control of the people that are in another country or in another town, or like Alberto or Kemi, any one of us. You cannot be in every single place. However, Zoom is in every single place. This is that we are doing now. I don't know, maybe people from Jamaica is watching this. So I do think that we need to do is, and I say thank you again to the Caribbean Cultural Center, is give the right information for the community. But we need to be open to them. And also we need to respect them and respect ourselves too. That's it.
Thank you.
One more thing that I would like to say, if it's okay. Yes, we definitely have to respect the elders and the people in the religion, but I would like to go perhaps a little bit further regarding even those people that don't even have warriors that are listening to this. People that just want to hear the advice, but they're not interested in being initiated. They just want to hear some form of guidance, which is fine too. Ifa will touch everyone. In New Jersey, I believe, Irete Kutang, right? Ramin?
No, Obeyono.
Obeyono. Irete Kutang was in Miami or?
Miami.
In Miami. No, in Miami, that Odu came out, Irete Kutang, Irete Eguntang, and it says, what the earth create, the earth will swallow. You have to be careful what you create and what you put into the earth, because that's what you're going to collect back. Okay? Don't plant apples and expect to pick up oranges, because that's not going to happen. And that's one of the interpretations of what the earth creates, the earth will swallow. What you create is what you're going to have to eat as well. Okay? It's not just, oh, let's dig a hole and feed the hole and your problem is over. If you don't change bad habits, no ebo or ceremony will ever change whatever it is you're going through. You have to change something within yourself, your ideology. You have to do self-research, because that's also the purpose of feeding the hole. That hole is that emptiness that some of us have in here that we need to feed as well. It's not just doing external work, but also internal work. Okay. Also, in Irete Kutang, it speaks about respecting our mothers. That's very important in that Odung of Ifa, because this is the story of the three brothers that they went out hunting. And before they went out hunting, once they got to the bush, they met up with Olofin, God. And God said, when you find whatever prey you're gonna kill, only eat the innards, do not eat the thighs, which is generally what most of us eat when we catch an animal. So they said, okay. They went out, they started hunting, they found a deer, they killed the deer, they opened up the deer and they saw the meat and they said, you know, it's really tough to throw away this meat and just eat the heart and the liver. I think I want it. So they disobeyed Olofin and they ate the thighs. In the animal's meat was Iku, death, Arum, disease, and Ofo, hitting, losses. So they started getting sick. When they got home, the eldest one passed away. Then the second one passed away. Then when the smallest of the three brothers got sick, the mother was able to grab him and ran to Orumila's house. And Orumila read him. And Orumila read him with Irete Kutang and did the ebo and saved him. Olofin came back to Orumila and said, how dare you disobey me? And Orumila said to Olofin, one of the promises that you made me commit to was that any woman who comes to me to save their child, I was obligated to save them. So Olofin backed away and said, Iboru iboye bochiche. So we have to respect our parents, our mother, Mother Earth. We have to respect these things. And the reason for this Ikafun, going back to Ikafun now, the letter that came out in Cuba, and the 16 commandments is talking about respecting our elders, not just the elders that passed, but the elders that are living as well. Because we, you know, I've had some clients of mine that have come to me, you know, they do all of this tribute to Egun and ceremonies to Egun, but they're fighting with the rest of their living family members. How does that make sense? So we have to think of the whole thing, not just the part that doesn't debate back to you or speaks back to you. Because it's easy to go to an Egun stake and present this and do that, and then you throw OB and you ask questions based on your capacity. You cannot get past what you know. You ask and the Orisha will work with what you know, not what they know. Because that's God in his infinite wisdom. So they work with what we know. So we have to embrace everything that we have, both the dead as well as the living. And Irete Kutan talks about that. Obeyonu, that's in New Jersey, right?
Yes.
Obeyonu, that's where they started burying the dead for the first time. Obeyono bosobo bokono lifafunchena obeyono hayade. That's when they started burying the dead, because that is the reason why in Obeyono disease spread around the earth, because people were dying and they were throwing them either by the river or by the tree, because they had no knowledge of that. So Olofin, seeing that his creation was coming to an end, he sent Orunmila, and Orunmila read the situation, and he said, let's send Babaluaye. Babaluaye did a bow of the Odun Obeyonu. And that's when he came to the earth and he started burying the dead. And from doing so, that's how, that is the reason why we bury the dead today, because of the Odun Obeyono, which is burying disease. And I don't want to go into the more details of it because there's a lot of people that are listening to this that are not initiates. But the most important message that I want to give to everyone who's listening, is that we have to respect not just the Egun, the ancestors, the ones from we have to respect the living, and we have to find a way of even within the family to understand each other, and we have to be tolerant. I mean, you tolerate what your boss tells you. You don't like him. So why not tolerate what your family is telling you? You chose them. So this is part of what I have to contribute as advice. That's just my humble opinion. That's all.
Thank you so much, Baba Raymond.
Yes. Well, if you're asking me to speak on Obeyono, which came from the temple in New Jersey, I have to tell you, the first thing I want you to visualize is the crocodile. And it's the crocodile by the river with its mouth wide open. That's the symbol of Obeyono. And Obeyono speaks about greediness, gluttony, wanting more than you should have. And so if you've ever seen a crocodile take its prey, it's pretty vicious and it's pretty violent. And it always represents overeating. So here is a reference to health in that what you eat is very important as far as your health is concerned. Everyone knows now, economy doesn't count, nothing counts. It's all about your health. And so Obeyono speaks about your health and the things that you eat. But one of the first recommendations in Obeyono that comes out, it speaks of the union of family. So for me, one of the most important things is we can very easily be enticed to say there's a division between Cuba, Miami, New Jersey, Nigeria, Brazil, but there's a thread, there's something that brings us all together, and we always have to look for that union of family. And that's what in a way, that's what we're doing right now. We're looking for unity. We're not looking for a division. I'm not trying to differentiate between one and the other. I'm trying to find that common thread. So that's very important. We realize too, from our experience, that one of the ways, no more will our enemy bomb us. No more will they shoot us down. It's really more about breaking up the family. One of the ways of conquering people, destroying people, is to break up that family. So we have to think in terms of what is a family. Another Odu tells us that there's union. In union is power. In other words, when we come together and we agree, we find a common thread, we can conquer all. So that's a very important thing. Babaluaye speaks totally in Obeyono. But or the story of Babaluaye is throughout Obeyono, and it says, and it speaks of disease. It speaks of the spread of disease. We know that in Nigeria, Babaluaye had to do with the spread of smallpox. Here in America, you know what we're dealing with now. Very important that we deal with the science of medicine and how we're going to cure people, because I'll tell you a little historical thing. It would appear that the priests of Babaluaye are the ones who discovered the cure for smallpox long before the Europeans came to Nigeria. And then later on, after they found out what they were doing, that they were vaccinating people, someone else so-called discovered the cure for smallpox. But we know that it occurred in Nigeria long before that by the priests of Babaluaye, who kept it as a secret. So that's very important. In Oba it talks about the mortality of humans, the many people dying. And so what's happening now? Many people are dying, and what we're doing, even out of because we're not united, we don't solve the problem. We know now, as we come together, we can solve this problem of a disease that's a pandemic that's all over the world. So that's one of the believe it or not, in Oba talks about, we have a habit now because we're concentrating so much on this COVID vaccine. We're not taking care of the rest of our bodies. We're not getting operations that we need. Oba says to go to the dentist. If you can see the alligator with his mouth wide open, all those teeth. Do you know that there's a bird that will crawl into the mouth of the alligator and pick his teeth because the alligator will allow that because he knows it's good for him. So sometimes you see a recommendation that people see the dentist, but it also means that we take care of all those afflictions that we had that we put off from before. So that's just the beginning of what Oba talks about. Oba talks about doing ceremonies alone without the help of others. It said that Olo-Obatala wanted to do a ceremony by himself, and it turned out it didn't work out that well. And the remedy to that all is that you have to have other people. So there's a little a reference to you for those who are not initiated. You want to see people, you want to see community work. When you want to go for ceremony, when you want to go for advice, you should see other people who are also there. It's not a one-on-one thing. It requires community. And one of our methods of survival is community, that we stick together, that we form a union, which is very powerful for us. And we will survive. And it says we will survive. In Oba in the temple in Jersey, it came with E-Ray. It came with positive. So who are the reigning Orisha? This is one of the things that are brought up many times because people will boil it all down to who are the reigning Orisha. And for us, it's Obatala and Oshun. Why? Because it's not about violence. Obatala and Oshun both have to do with cleanliness. You notice that's all we're concerned with nowadays, is that we wash our hands, we spray ourselves, we go into stores, we cover our faces. All of that has to do with cleanliness and keeping germs away so that we will not become infected. So I will, be glad to give you more things, but one of the things that me as a babalawo, when I look at it, I take a little of each. I take a little of advice from Cuba. I take a lot of advice from the temple. I was there present for the taking out of the letter. But what did Puerto Rico say? What did Miami have to say about Irete Kutan? Irete Kutan brings up memories because that's the man. Irete Kutan Pancho Mora Ibae was the first man who gave me warriors in 1964, something like that. So all of these things bring up certain informational things that I need to know as a babalawo, and I'm willing to pass it on, and hopefully this year will be a lot more successful than last year.
Thank you, Baba Ray. We already have some questions that I want to actually insert into the discussion because we've been talking a lot about our physical health and cleanliness and hygiene, and this is certainly important, but we actually have a question about mental health. I know that was one of the things that came up in some of the letras, and so we people are asking, what is the advice that we're being given about our mental health? And I'm going to go to Frank.
Okay, I want to speak talking about mental situation. Is something that we didn't talk about it, but it's important this year, the masses. It's important to look for the mediums. Talking about the history of Ifa and the religion here in New York, for example, like Raymond said, Pancho Mora, that was in the Tequenda. Pancho Mora, he feed San Lazarus every single year with the Oriate, and always he did Ana Juan at the end of the year with his God kids. It's something that I learned from people that are God kids or Pancho Mora, the first babalawo here. So he was working with the Oriate constantly about San Lazarus, and he created a great house. This year, we are supposed to do a lot of prayers. The medium is so important here too, because we have a lot of souls out there that they pass away without a mass. A lot of people that pass away without a right funeral. People that was desperate to see their family and they couldn't. So when they pass away sad. So we are talking about Irete Kutan, what the earth give, the earth eat. We are talking about a Yeun Leogunda or Beyono, which they didn't bury the people. It passed here. In Italy, they couldn't sometimes bury the people properly because it was a lot of death around. So they had to throw the people around and start to burn all the people that passed away because they didn't have capacity for all of them that was passing away at the same time when the pandemic started. So we lived that last year with Yeun Gunda. So, and in Cuba last year was Ogunda Yeunle that relate the Odun with the Odun of the year in the Temple of New Jersey, and also we were living the pandemic, something that the letter of the year, the last letter was talking about in Cuba. So we are supposed to pray for that souls. There are a lot of people out there in the environment that we have everything in our ceremony and we say, Okana, but you have everything, Okana. Okana, why? Because there are a lot of spirits out there that they pass away without any single prayer, without any single possibility to see their family. Their family couldn't bury them properly, and maybe they belong to the Catholic or the Yoruba, any religion. It doesn't matter. They were human beings. So we are a religious people, we are supposed to pray for them. For those that passed away last year that didn't have the possibility to have a right funeral. That is something that will help us mentally, because everything that we have in our soul, when we pray, we reinforce our mind. And it is something that we are jumping now, and I highly recommend it to my God kids and the community in general. You want to receive the water, you want to receive Olokon, you want to receive Kofa, do you have your bóveda on? What is that? Excuse me? What is that? No, the bóveda. You need the bóveda. The first thing that I told my God kid, hey, you need your bóveda. At least if you have the spray one glass. It's not excuse. Here you have the book prayer and start to pray. I guide you with the best prayer that I know, but also there are other kids that have more knowledge about a spiritual thing than me. So lean on them and learn, because now we are not praying. We are jumping from place to place with some foundation. People today have the worry, tomorrow the hocha, after tomorrow the haifa, after they have pinaldo, and you say, what's going on? So they don't have foundation. And when you don't have foundation, where do you go? So mentally, what happened that when you have a problem that you cannot solve, you want to throw away all the riches. And the first thing that the people say, because I spend a lot of money in this, because they told me that I will be a king, because we need to be so careful in our way. We cannot sell histories. Because people, they believe. but they don't have foundation. And I am sure that all of us and other elders in the religion, we have had problems in our life too. We have had problems in our life, and you have to lean to our guardian angel or to Elegua and say, you know what? I want to move forward. I don't want to throw away Yemaya because I have problems. That is my problem. Now Yemaya problem. And that is something that we need to reinforce in the mind of our community. We have orichas, we have ceremony, but the first thing is spirits, is prayer, to reinforce yourself mentally, that your mind is clear. And when through the prayers, you reinforce yourself. And also, your ancestor help you, like Alberto said. It's not just the ancestor that passed away, the family members that passed away, it's also the people that are alive. We have aunts, we have cousins that are in the nursing home. Do you go to visit them? One day, we don't have time. Oh, she's in the nursing home, my aunt is in the nursing home, but do you visit her? Oh no, I don't have time to do that. Do you visit your father? I don't have time. In our culture, our elders died in our house. My grandma passed away in our house. My grandma didn't go to any nursing home, anything like that, in our house. So that's important to take care of our elders. When they put the elder in the nursing home and give some money, oh, that's it. I did everything. It's not correct. When you want to reinforce your mind through the prayer, because you will be praying for the world first, and later you will be praying for the guardian angel. No matter which one it is, could be Ochun, Chango, Batala, you need to pray to them. And then we are santeros, we are in the religion, but most of the time they want to fit. Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. No, my family. When prayer, we have a great solution with a flower, with an adimu for our orichas. But I know the adimu when I am going to Raymond, I say, Raymond, please read me. Oh, Fran, she wants the adimu. No, I have my adimu, her adimu, because I know that I have crown Yemaya, so once a while, she has her adimu. Chango has his bananas. I don't have to wait that, Raymond, what is going on? And Raymond told me, oh, Frank, here Chango said that you don't speak with her. No, I speak with my oricha every single day. And this thing I recommend to people. Don't think because we have all the orichas, if you don't pray to them, if you don't attend them, you don't have any results in your life. So what is the foundation? From where you start with the bóveda. Start with your bóveda. Say your bóveda. Go to the medium. Do masses. How many masses we do in the year? Any? We have the complete year and we don't do any masses sometimes. We are supposed to do our masses. This is part of our religion. That is the foundation that we have. So if you want to prepare your mind, if you want to reform your mind, prayers, because you need to believe in yourself first. If you do not believe in yourself, you do not believe in anything, because everything comes from us, from our soul, our ori. And later, it goes out.
I wanted to add to, because you had also mentioned that you had some questions regarding mental health that some people were asking. Ikafun. I don't want to go into the story because it's a little too long. But one of the things that this Odun does talk about is letting your hair loose. Okay? In that Odun of Ifa, Ikafun, it's not advisable for some ladies to wear fake hair on their head or hair from another, because, you know, some women grow hair and they sell it and they, well, I'm sure you all heard about that. I don't want to go into the details. I'm not a hairdresser. But one of the things that this Odun is talking about is, because in that Odun there was a queen. I'm going to make a long story very short. there was a queen who, she was the only one who wanted to have long hair. So every time a young lady was born, she would get rid of her, let's just put it that way, and take her hair. And Eshu saw the injustice of this. So what happened was that he read himself with Ifa, and Ifa told Eshu to go speak to Ogun. And Ogun transformed into Iku, which is death. And he started ripping everybody's hair off that didn't belong to them. And at that point, and then he took that queen that was taking everybody else's hair and wearing it on herself, and he punished her. I mean, it's a long story. I don't want to go into it because, again, it's all panelists and they have things that they want to add to. But the bottom line is that regarding the hair, ikafun, it says, do not put hair on your head that is not yours, because that's one of the violations of ikafun. Okay? In reference to Irete Kutang, which is the Odun that came out in Miami, it says in Irete Kutang is an Odun of lunacy. Okay? Because it says in Irete Kutang, this is where the king lost his power when he rogated his head in a full moon. So you have to think about it a little bit. What is the message here? Okay? Moon, lunacy, and he lost his power. That's the message. Okay, so for those of you that need to get your head rogated this year, Nirete Kutang, the advice is, if you look up and you see there's a full moon, don't rogate your head that day. Rogate your head another day. Okay, because that may have some effect in your emotions and your state of mind. Now moving to Obeyonu, Obegunda, the story of Orilemere, Afuwape, and Orishegun. The three friends that went to Olodumare to look for Ori. They wanted to look for their destiny on earth. Okay, and what did Olodumare tell them? On your journey to the earth, do not stop on your journey, no matter who or no matter what. And then at the same time, he tells them, it's like pounding yam with a needle. That's a little tricky there, because if you take a needle and you start pounding yam with it, you're going to be there for a very long time. What is it saying? Be patient. Be patient. Because a lot of times we create these mental things that, I mean, the mind is so profound and so full of mysteries. And we only use about 10% of it, according to science. That where do you begin with this? But at the same time, what we need to do is be patient, because sometimes we build so much anxiety within ourselves that it attacks our nervous system. And then we go into overdrive, and it affects our mind, our judgment. You know, Beyonu, okay, that's where the Odu of Ifa, where you have to receive Ori. I'm not saying that everybody who's listening to this needs to receive Ori, because that's a big step and you have to really understand what you're trying to get into. But I'm just answering the question as to how to navigate this this mental polarity that sometimes can happen given everything that's going on around us, politically, socially, health-wise, etc. And we have to really calm down, just settle down. That's what Obeyono is saying. That's why, you know, we have to use our discretion. We have to use our discretion, because when these three individuals were blessed by Olodumare and they went about their journey to the earth, Orisegun heard his father in a battlefield, which is Ogun. And he said, oh, I remember that Olodumare said, don't stop. no matter what. And he kept going. Orile Mere heard a sign burning the bush. And he was going to go see and said, oh, I remember that Orumila, Olodumare said, don't stop no matter what. Keep going. Afuwape Orumila's son heard his father tapping on the board with the tapper. He said, my dad must be doing a ball. And then he caught himself. He said, oh, but wait a minute. Olodumare said, don't go. And don't stop no matter what. But he said, but that's my dad. Let me go check anyway. Which just goes back to what I said before. We have to pay attention to our elders, the living ones as well. We can't expect to have blessings from the metaphysical when you're mistreating the ones that are here with you. Cannot do that. It doesn't go together. So what happens is that Afuwape stopped, and his father, Orumila, was doing a ball. And he asked his son, what are you doing here? He said, well, I'm on my journey to the earth. He said, well, since you're on your journey to the earth, these are the items of my ebo. So he gave him salt, and he gave him money from the ebo, and Orumila left on the journey. And Afuwape, before he left, he asked Orumila, what do I need this for? And Orumila said, use it at your discretion. So, and at the end, he found out, again, it's a long story. I don't want to get into it because there's other panelists. At the end, he had use for each and every one of these items that his father gave him on his journey to the earth to have a successful life on earth. Okay, so the other two obviously didn't do so well. Let's just put it that way. I'll leave it at that. My point is that Ori, okay, is one of the deities that we need to receive this year from Obeyonu. Irete Kutan is telling you Cenotum of lunacy. And that's another reason why you got to feed the earth to ground you, because your head is doing this. Okay? And then Ikafung is talking about the hair and protecting your head. Okay, that's the other thing. And that's it.
Thank you. So we have these themes around, respect, right? Order, respecting our ori, respecting our head, respecting our elders, our ancestors, the orishas, respecting the earth, right? And we also, some of you have sort of brought up the importance of mutual aid, right? Baba Ray was talking about community, right? As part of the order that we create. And in this time, we've seen the emergence through the pandemic of mutual aid, right? As something that's very much a part of our history, the cabildo, right? As kind of one of the things that's helping us to survive during these times. But on the other side of that is, and folks are asking, this is why I'm raising, and we have several questions related to what is your advice, right? For people who want to uphold this order, who want to live aligned with the rules and the recommendations and the structure and ethics of our tradition, but are managing the toxicity, right? How do you deal with family members that are harmful? How do you deal with elders that are harmful or abusive? This is actually a question that has come up several times while you all were speaking. So folks want to kind of hear, how do we navigate that, both maintain the order, but also manage when behavior of our elders or our family is harmful to us? Danny, I think.
Sometimes we have to say to ourselves, with everything happening, and again, bringing into the whole managing the toxicity of family members, co-workers, and whatnot, we have to ask ourselves, where do we stand in those people's lives? That's very important to know first. Secondly, how is their behavior and or going to affect us on our daily lives? We have to ask ourselves, okay, how am I going to let this affect me? And some people we can't just toss out of our lives, right? Especially if there's somebody close to us. So we have to find that inner peace within ourselves and say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to, there's a saying in Odisha, which is not one of the others, stretch your hand out as far as you can stretch. So I'm going to do what I can do. And at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to take care of me, take care of self, take care of my needs, take care of my mental health, distance myself if I have to, not completely get rid of those people in my life. Some people we may choose to get rid of in our lives. We may decide to take another view on where they stand in our lives and say to ourselves, okay, I'm not going to communicate as much with this person right now because of everything that's going on, especially when you have, you know, for example, difference in politics. That's one of the biggest problems we have right now in the country, is extremely divided with difference of politics. So do we remove the people in our lives completely out who are of a different political mindset, or we just keep them over there and they keep their opinion, I keep my opinion? Another thing that's very important, and I'm seeing the questions too in the chat, a lot of people asking, you know, well, how many times should I rotate my head? How many times, what should I do with this? What should I do with that? I think it's very important, and this is what I see as an Oriate, for people to come and get themselves read, people to get their individual readings. Absolutely, we're going to respect what is said in our different regions, and we're going to compare what is divine for you, your needs, your current situation, your Odu, your prophecy, Ire, Osobo, your Lariche, your remedy, and then look at what the world is telling us. All right, for example, maybe somebody comes with the desire to have a child, and we get an Odu, and the Odu speaks of having a complicated pregnancy. Well, we know that Ikafun also speaks of that too. So this is not a good year for you to try to have a child. You came in a divine, and through Igbo, through the conversation, through your hands, through your Ori, Orisha said, or Ifa, if you go to Ifa, Ifa tells you with your head saying, this is what you need, this is where you need to go. Again, taking in consideration everything that was said in your different region and applying it. That's something that I do myself personally. And that's what I see the most as an Oriate. I do a lot of house readings. And the theme this year so far for the 3 houses that I've read has been the same thing. Respect your elders, respect the people living, respect your ancestors. Okay, no useless arguments. Watch the things that you say. Okay, and again, looking at everything that's going on right now in the world, these are the things that we need to follow too. So Orisha, Ifa are all speaking the same thing. Okay, with different parables, different refrains, different batakis, but at the end of the day, it's the same message. Respect. Respect encompasses everything. And at the end of the day, once we respect, we have respect. Respect brings respect. We can respect each other with this pandemic. We can respect other people's political beliefs. We can respect other people's religious affiliations. Okay, we can keep our opinions to ourselves. We can give our opinions respectfully and not make somebody anxious or nervous because of the way we're speaking, because now they feel they're attacking us. You know what I mean? You start pulling it all together, and this is what happens. This is what you wind up getting. The cross theme, respect. Okay, and respect breeds other things. And I think people need to ask themselves, the audience, where am I right now, and where do I want to go? What am I looking for 2021? Keeping in mind that we have a pandemic, sure. Keeping in mind the advice, keeping in mind the things that are toxic around us. But we have to continue to live, and we have to find our way through this. And that's why we do divination.
Thank you, Danny. So we have a couple of questions about Ori. Frank was talking about the first step is prayer, right? And prayer is our foundation, and prayer is the foundation of our mental health, as well as our spiritual health. And then Alberto was talking about Ori, right? And the ceremonially Ori. We have a question from the audience around what are things, if people are not in a position to receive an Orisha necessarily, what are things that people can do generally to strengthen their Ori and to support them through this time, in particular, given all of the many different challenges and social conditions? I see Ramin wants to respond.
He is a very important deity. It's actually the most important deity we have. So
Okay.
this is 3 positions. I want to emphasize this because a lot of people hear Ori and they think of just their head. So Ori is represented by Ori Eleda, which is the destiny given by your creator, correct? By your belly button, which is Ori Enu, the first place where you're nourished, right, within the womb of your mother. And the 3rd place is the toe, the large toe from each foot, Ori Pori. So these 3 points of Ori encompass what our destiny in our life is, correct? What Olodumare made me really good at, my Ori Enu, what I want to be in my life and what I feel is good for me, and Ori Pori, what I'm actually doing, correct? So Ifa says that when these 3 things are not in line, we can never reach our full potential within life, correct? If Ori made me extremely good at being a drummer and a musician, which I am, by the way, not that bad. So Ori made me good as a drummer, but I want to be a doctor, let's say, for instance, in my life, but I'm working as a carpenter. My Ori is completely out of whack. So basically, I would never be able to reach the full potential of what my creator made me to be, correct? So I just wanted to touch on that really quickly. But Ori, for this year, it's very important to appease our ancestral mothers. So with that being said, I know in Irete Gutan, we spoke of Onile, or the Mother Earth, correct? In Ikafung, it says that Yami, Yami Osoronga is anger, and is almost rencorosa is the word I'm looking for in Spanish, but in English it's like has a disdain or a certain hurt towards us, right? And is a scorn woman, that's the word. So Yami in this moment says that she is scorned. So in order to have a fresh Ori and to not be tormented by Yami, it's said that we need to appease Yami Osoronga. Of course, each person has their own godparent, their own elder that can kind of help them in the way, but a little bit about what Yami is. They're our ancestral mothers, correct? Within the diaspora, they were known as our ancestral mothers, right? The ones that watch over us. They represent witches, so to speak, but they were a sect of women that were in charge of taking care of humanity, correct? They're represented by birds. Humanity betrayed them by eating the bird and by nourishing themselves with the bird. From this day, from this moment, when this Odu, there has always been a constant feud in between what the positive things are in life and the negative things. I just want to make it very clear for everyone that is listening, not only religious practitioners, priests of Ifa, priests of Orisa, our job is not to wage war against all the negative things in life. Because honestly speaking, regardless of how good a priest of Ifa or Orisa you are, there will be a day that you will pass away. There will be a day that you will be sick, a day that you will have loss. What we need to do is create balance within our life. The way to do this is, as Obayonu says, have patience, have good character. Understand that the assimilation of whatever obstacle we can be going through is 90% of the battle. If we understand that we have an obstacle ahead of us, and we have patience enough to be able to understand the things we need to do in order to grow. At times, us as humanity, we always want things to be great. We always want things to be perfect. That's not the point, because within obstacle creates growth. There is no growth if you don't have obstacle. Obayonu speaks this. Obayonu speaks that when initially a baby is born and you see blood, it's greeted with happiness. Everyone sees the blood from the womb of the mother and says, wow, you know, healthy, the baby's coming up correctly. And then when you hear the baby cry for the first time, these are the only two times that seeing blood and screaming is something greeted with happiness, right? Because they did divination in heaven and they did it born in heaven. But then shortly thereafter, laughter came, and also patience in the life, where the baby was growing up and had to fall down a bunch of times to learn to be able to walk, to learn to be able to grow, to be a strong human being, correct? So it says that within that patience is where we can find the answer to everything. You know, in terms of Ori, having that patience is extremely important, and understanding that we do not have to force things in life, correct? We have to do things in its due time, but we have to be intelligent with the things we're doing. Like, this is what I'm saying. We have to inform ourselves. If you want to learn about this culture, you have to start in a good place. You have to take your time. You have to investigate who is the one that's teaching you. You have to ask questions, you know, humbly as you can. And you have to learn, and you have to inform yourself.
If I might speak on Ori, one of my methods in divination is to tell a story. And so many times I want to tell you a story as opposed to just giving you straight advice. And there's a story that says that a man is walking down a road, a man or a woman, a person is walking down the road with all his Orisha, Shango, Ogun, Yemaya, Ochun. He's got them all with him, and he's going down the road. And Oshun says, I want to go to Oshogbo to get honey, and she leaves. And Shango says, I want to go to Koso. I want to have palm oil. And Ogun wants to go to Ire, and he wants to have his offering. And so as he moves down the road, he finds none of the Orisha are with him, and he feels abandoned. But the story tells us that one thing that hasn't left is Ori. And Ori is the thing that guides us and is the Orisha, the spirit, one of the most important spirits that's within us. It's not Shango, it's not Obatala, it's Ori. So that's a very important concept that we developed. That Ori is a form of destiny, but you are as much in charge of destiny as when you first were born. When your destiny was chosen for you, you have the ability to change many times through both through sacrifice, through devotion, and working with the supreme being. So that's one of the things we really concentrate on. I want to caution people with the difference between prayer and a more important or more better manner of getting information is meditation. You see, in prayer, we are telling Orisha, we are telling God what we want. Many times, and it's been heard many times, we don't always know what we want. So that request could be very faulty. What's the method really should be used is to be quiet and listen for the voice of God. So that's where meditation might be a better means for us to develop so that we can learn to listen to God and listen instead of talking and telling someone what we want. Man proposes and God disposes.
Thank you so much. We have a lot of questions around engaging and you know, for the audience, folks that are listening, the center really, you know, has as a cultural institution, of course, has some parameters around the types of information that we share. But I think that this is a question that kind of rises to the matter of ethics and character, but also how we build community. And so the question is really like, for folks that are disconnected, for people that do not have houses or elders, what is your advice around how to locate ethical elders and connect themselves to a larger community where they will find safety and guidance? Some of you have talked about this a bit, but it's a recurring question in the chat and the Q&A, so I want to bring it to you as well, particularly since the Letra del Año warns about who we do religious acts for and also who we receive them from. Ramin.
Sorry, I just want to add real quick. I was going to say a requisite of being a good priest is being a good person, Ikafu says.
Ache.
The first indicator to see is that this person is a person of integrity. How can you trust in the word of a priest of Ifa or Olorisa if you don't see them as being ethical people that are good people, that do good acts? My sign of Ifa specifically says that a good act in life can last for 20, 30 years. Something as simple as, you know, giving someone a piece of bread, or, you know, helping someone up, or letting someone sit down when they were tired. You know, so it's very easy to take your time and really see if a person is a good person or not, just based on their actions. Don't allow them just to say who they are or to tell you their accreditations and to tell you their titles. They have a relationship with this person, you know. Honestly speaking, in my understanding from when I was raised in my godmother's house, she was more than a godmother. She was like my grandmother. She was my family. She raised me. You know, it wasn't something that was just one day to another. It was a relationship of emotion, you know. And honestly speaking, there isn't anyone that can tell me they have a praise title higher than her, because for me, she was my everything, right? But it's having that kind of connection, you know, that kind of bond of a mother to a daughter, of a father to a son. You know, it's not a one day to another thing, you know, kind of thing, at least in my opinion.
Thank you, Ramin.
I agree with you 100%, Oluwo. It's very important that to find a good person, right? Someone with ethics, someone who is a good person overall in general. It's good to find somebody through somebody else, right? You introduced You're introduced directly from one person to the next. That always helps because that other person knows this person. You're not just searching for some random person or calling some random person. You don't know who they are, where they came from. You want to do some research on the person. It's always good for a friend or someone to bring you, to introduce you to that person, and then you take it from there. But things to look at. Is the person a good person? More or less, you can kind of judge when you go to a person's house, see how they live, okay, in the sense of their family structure and whatnot. Reputation is very important, the word in the community. We're a very big community, but at the same time, we're this big, okay? And most of us know each other, okay? We all somehow connected somehow, some way, as it should be, right? So through the community, you can definitely meet great people and people that are trustworthy and people with religious ethics and people who are truly going to do religion and guide you, and not these charlatans that the Odu is speaking of, or these internet, I call them the internet sensations that you see on the internet, making videos and all of these things. Sometimes, not to dog anybody who makes a video, but sometimes it gets a little crazy after a while. You have to start asking yourself questions. Remember, not everything that shines is gold. Okay.
Thank you. And that's actually a great segue, right? Because one of the warnings in the Letra del Año is about narcissism. And, you know, so many of you, all of you have touched on the importance of good character, of ethics, of morality. We have about 15 minutes remaining. And so I want to give each of you an opportunity to really leave the audience with one last thought. If there's something that you want people to carry away for 2021, you know, whether it's in response to any and all of the letras really, but your advice as elders in 2021 for this very diverse audience of participants. And we'll begin with, well, I'll let you volunteer when you're ready to speak.
Well, I'll say something first. One of the main ingredients of a good person, especially in this religion, is a person who serves. I think it's very important that you get a feeling that this isn't for money, this isn't for any aggrandizement, it isn't for any kind of thing that's besides just a person who wants to help. I encouraged my son, I said, choose a profession where you serve, where you give, instead of being a taker. So it's very important that person feels that from anyone who's going to be your guide. You're here to help them move along in life, and the more you think of it as being a sharing of knowledge as to how I can make myself better, I will feel that person is a good person for me. But very important to ask around. Simple as that. Do you know someone who's good? Do you know someone who could help me? And just don't go in, because the amount of things that you don't know about this religion is sometimes tremendous. And so it's very important that a person tells you how you can do this and how it can work out. I go for my example because I've been very lucky. I've always been with people who helped me and made me a better person. And I want to do the same for other people. And that's my contribution to that.
Thank you, Baba Rand. Do you want to offer like a final word of advice just for the year, a theme or something that you would like people to kind of take away with them in guiding the year ahead?
Well, you know, to boil it all down, it's all about hope. And I think we do have a reason to be hopeful. We do have a reason to think that things will get better. It says here, but you know, and not running down this the letter that came from Jersey. The luck that we have comes from using intelligence. Ire Oma. So we have to use our brains. We have to think. It's not all about reaction and immediately we do something. Think about what you do. If you think about what you do, which is what Olo-Obatala does, you may know that. Olo-Obatala takes a moment to think. It's not about just reacting immediately. And if we think this through, we'll realize we've been through this before. All of these things are nothing new. And that's why we ask grandma and we ask mom and dad, what should I do? You know why? Because they've been there. And so take advice and learn to be patient, but at the same time, use our intelligence. And we do have it and we should use it.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Okay, there's something I want to speak about the relationship about godparents and godkids. Talking about the letter of New Jersey, of Bayonne. We need to be tolerant also, godkids and godparents. There are a lot of problems now that people, sometimes the godparents have a bad day because they are human beings too. And they have also personal problem. So the kid automatically say, oh, he doesn't want to attend me because and go to another place talking about the godparents. So we need to be tolerant too. And you choose one house, there are good moments and there are bad moments. But in general, when they have problems, they just remember the bad moment. They don't remember the good moment where the godparents take care of them and speak with them and pamper them, do anything that they need. So it's important to be tolerant also in our community. I have the experience to be in the house that I found here when I got the United States, in the Candelo house, in the Finn house for 20 years. So this year will be 21, and I still with the same elders, with the same people. They are up and down. There are bad days, there are good days, but what the house that I have been receiving original guidance and support by my elders, and I still there. So people sometimes they do to understand, we need to understand that our kids have bad moments, and also the godparents. We have bad moments in life. We also sometimes, even though you are the elder, you have the wrong decision. And you are guilty because you have the wrong decision in doing that or whatever. But there are times that also the kids speak with the parents and we listen them. And you sit down with your kid and you speak and have the conversation. So talking about respect, about Ireoma, like Obeyono said this year in the temple of New Jersey, than in the temple, closer to all of us. We need to speak. We are not animals. We need to speak with our elders. We need to speak with our kids. When you have a problem, don't go out there to speak about your religious family. So before you go out to speak about your religious family, speak with them directly, because sometimes you find the solution without a big deal, because the person just have a bad day or have problem in the house, and at that moment they cannot do what you want. So that is so important, because sometimes we don't be tolerant and we just want to speak for one or another reason. We want to speak. I do think that this year also we need to be tolerant, because remember, all of us, absolutely all of us, are under a huge stress, because we cannot go to disco, we cannot go to the vacation, we cannot go to the beach. And all of that affect us in one way or another. Even sometimes we cannot visit our family that lives in another town. We cannot fly to Chicago to see our family member because we are afraid of. We cannot go sometimes to our friend's house because we are afraid of that. We don't want to receive people. People are not celebrating sometimes the Ocha birthday because they are afraid. So all of that is around us also is tension. It's a stress for us. We are living in the case. So all of that affect also our mind in one way or another. It affects our mind. We are so stressed out for so many things that are happening out there. So something for all of us is be tolerant. Please be tolerant with your family, be tolerant with your godparents, and also with co-working and community in general.
Thank you, Frank. Who would like to be next? Alberto. Need you to unmute yourself.
Unmute Alberto.
Uh-oh.
Yes, now.
Okay. Okay, what I wanted to just add is real quick, and that is that in Obeyonu, one of Obeyonu's Achilles' heel is his character, and there's a small story there where Orunmila found himself alone, and when he read himself, Obe Ogunda Obeyonu. Obeyonu told Orunmila that he needed to get married with Iwa. Iwa is character. Iwa Pele. Iwa Suru. Iwa Dero. Okay, so at the end of the day, yeah, you can learn how to do 1,000,000 ebos. You can learn how to say 1,000,000,000 prayers, but if you have bad character, you know, there's a phrase in there's a little prayer also in Obeyonu that says, if you have many houses and you have bad character, those houses are not yours. If you have a lot of wives, considering where the tradition comes from, if you have a lot of wives and you have bad character, those wives are not yours. If you have a lot of children and you have bad character, those children are not yours. What does that mean? That means that even if you have it all, because of your bad character, you cannot enjoy it because you're trapped in darkness. So that's one of the things that Obeyonu is offering us, so that we can understand how to work inside. Yes, working with Orisha is wonderful, and that's what we're all doing. That's what we're here for. But you also have to do the work on your own. How much of yourself are you ready to sacrifice? It's very easy to just grab some fruits, put it down, light up a candle, say a couple of things, and go about with your same old habits. That's not how it works. Okay, so we have to make some changes. And Irete Kutan says the same thing. Senodunda talks about strong character because that's where the earth went to complain to Olodumare because man was shedding blood all over it and killing each other and spitting on it and doing all kinds of ridiculous things. So what happened was that the earth went to Olodumare or Olofing and said, listen, you created man, you gave him all this power, and look what he's doing to me. And God said, well, then from now on, how you get paid back is by every man who dies goes back inside of you. That's one of the phrases of what the earth creates, the earth will swallow, which is one of the reasons why we also bury the dead. So if you look at Irete Kutan and Obeyono, they have a lot of similarity. Okay? And if you look at Ikafun, it talks about the 16 commandments of Ifa. So it is definitely talking about character. It's everything. If we don't work with that, we're not moving forward. If you look at the stories of creation in this tradition, it talks about the chameleon that came and hit the earth. Why was it a chameleon? Why wasn't it something else? You know why the chameleon? Because the chameleon has the ability to transform and adapt. When it's on a leaf, it turns green. When it's on the tree, it turns brown, and so forth and so on. And that's what we have to do with our character. How to blend in and understand, not be a hypocrite. You can state your opinion, but don't reject with anger the opinion of others. That's what I have to say.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Danny.
One of the things to be able to sustain good character, right, that everyone has to understand and acknowledge is doing your own part. Everybody has a part to play in their daily lives and in society in general. And those of us who are priests, we have our part to play. Those of us who are not a priest have a part to play. And it brings me to a chant that we use in Egun that's very important to kind of sum all this up. And it goes, Bosi Olodumare, Fiedenu, Agunfo. Bosi Olodumare, Fiedenu, Agunfo. What it's saying is, you're asking, you're looking up to Olodumare, forgive us down here. Forgive us for the things that we're doing incorrectly. Help us do things correctly. All right. And we sing that to Egun when we do funeral rites, because that song represents, we're singing, asking Olodumare to forgive maybe the mistakes that the person who died may have committed in life. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has a bad day. Everybody does something wrong, right? But it's important to acknowledge that, acknowledge our role, acknowledge what part we play in our daily lives and our jobs in religion, and heed these and this advice that Rumila has given, that Orisha has given, and become a good person as a whole. Become a good person. When you're a good person and you're somebody who lives religion, and it's not just a weekend thing, like for many people, okay, whether it's Christian, Islam, whatever, everybody seems to have religion on a weekend sometimes. We have a specific day we go to pray. It's something that you do every day. It's by living, okay? It's our actions. It's what we do every day. It's how we treat each other. It's we're looking now, look what the pandemic has done. The pandemic in the beginning brought people to realize, wow, we need each other. Wow, there's so many things to be grateful about. You know, we can't get toilet paper right now. You know, it brought families together for many people. It made people realize, you know what, maybe some of the things that I'm upset about is not that important. Maybe I have to look at things as a whole. So it's about reflection. It's about reflection. Self-reflection is very important so that we can understand each other, and therefore we can be productive people in the world. And by doing that, that makes us good priests, good followers, good godchildren, good godparents, good fathers, good mothers, etc. Okay? The good child has the blessing of God and his parents. It's very important that we start taking care of self, looking at what we're doing, looking at how we're contributing, what we're not doing, what we're doing wrong, and ask for forgiveness, ask for guidance from Olodumare.
Thank you, Danny. Baba Ray, you're going to close us out.
I am. The first thing to do, it's very gratifying to see so many people who are interested in doing good for other people and for themselves. And that's going to be our salvation. It's going to be the way that we're going to get through all of this. I welcome any kind of the questions and advice that I could give to people. Let's see what happens. Each year, it seems things get better for all of us, and I want the best for all of us. So I look forward to seeing people and once again trying to help and be a servant to humanity and to our people.
Okay.
Thank you, Baba Ray. And actually, I misspoke. Ramin is going to close us out.
Oh, God. That's fine.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to say that I think the most important theme of everything is respect. Respect for ourselves, respect for our elders, respect for not only our ancestors, but the ones that are living also. I think also is to hold ourselves accountable. Understand that in Ikafun, we can't blame the Irumole for the things that we're going through, right? We have to look at ourselves collectively and just understand how we can play our part in the best way possible. Again, we realize that it's not easy to change humanity, you know, as a whole, if humanity is going in a certain trend. But be the change that you want to see. You know, try your best, do everything that you can. But as long as you use your heart and you have emotion with what you do in your life, you know, Ifa will support you, the Irumale will support you. And again, character is important because sometimes we feel that we're powerful in our lives, but I want to let you know that we aren't. What gives us any kind of our share of power is the character that we have, the good actions that we have in life, the connections that we make in life, right? We're only powerful because we have a family, abundance, people that are around us that support us and uplift us, right? Many verses that Orumila was the most knowledgeable in everything, knew everything, but until someone gave him an opportunity to be able to demonstrate that adeptness, it didn't mean anything, right? So just help each other is what I could say.
Okay.
Thank you, Ramin, and thank you to all of our panelists, Baba Ray, Baba Alberto, Baba Frank,
Thank you.
Baba Danny, Baba Ramin. Thank you to the Caribbean Cultural Center, of course, for bringing us together across the world. During the time that we were together, we had upwards of 300 participants, as I said, and we're live streaming all over the world, which is a beautiful thing and a first for us. So we are very grateful. In order to continue to keep the center strong and viable so that the center can continue to offer programming such as this, we do ask that you make donations when possible, if not today, whenever you are able to. And please do follow us at cccadi.org. The center is your home. It is the home for all of the people of the African diaspora, and it certainly is for all of our religious communities in the United States and beyond. So thank you all for being with us this evening. We wish you a safe and healthful year. May you have all of the blessings that, God wishes to grant you, really. And may you have the wisdom and the clarity to receive your blessings. Thank you all for being with us. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Thank you,
You
everyone.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Our panelists don't leave yet.
Oh,
We have to stay with us.
okay.
You have many, many thank yous.